Hello, this video is part 2 of the series, Making the Best Use of the Rocket Math Online Tutor. It will cover the function of the 1-minute races to provide fluency data from your students. The 1-minute races provide fluency data that you can use to see if your students are developing increased fluency in math facts. Besides teaching math facts deliberately and sequentially, the online tutor also assesses math fact fluency with 1-minute tests. Oops, I mean 1-minute races. We don't want to alarm the students by calling them tests, so we call them races. They answer problems randomly selected from all the problems taught in their learning track for 1 minute. They can skip the ones they don't know. We tell them the answer, but move on to a different problem. On the Review Progress tab, you can begin by filtering the data that will be displayed or exported. If you're a teacher with your own account, ignore this. But if you have multiple schools, teachers, or sections in your account, these filters allow you to focus on whichever one of those you want to see. Under that are the fluency and engagement charts. Then there are column titles of the columns of student data that can be hidden or displayed. Below the titles are the rows of individual student data. Part 3 of this series will go over the rest of the Review Progress tab, but we want to talk about the fluency data you can see for the individual students. At the top of Tab A, Review Progress, you see the fluency test results for the scheduled 1-minute races. Fluency tests are scheduled as a pre-test after Set A, then 1/3 of the way through after Set I, then 2/3 of the way through the learning track after Set R, and as a post-test after Set Z is finished. The results are displayed prominently in 3 charts. In each chart, there's a pull-down menu allowing you to select which learning track to view. Remember, at the top of the page, you can filter for the school, teacher, or section you wish to view. Here's a whole school's partial results in the multiplication learning track. Starting out at Set A, the average was 12 answers per minute for the 1,152 students who started this learning track. Then in the post-test, you see an average of 21 answers per minute for the 691 students who had, by the day we took this data, worked their way through to Set Z. When students complete a learning track, they are demonstrably more fluent in those facts. This chart tells you how students are progressing through each learning track and shows you their improved fluency. On the Review Progress tab, you scroll down to the individual student rows. One column is labeled Last 1-minute race, and the one to the left of that is labeled Next to last 1-minute race. Here you see each student's results from the last 2 times they did a race. We see the top student improved in fluency. That student got 8 correct in a minute after Set A, and then went up to 10 correct answers in a minute in the test after Set I, which is what you want to see. The next 3 students' next to last test was after Set Z. So with Auto Advance, they were automatically moved on to the next learning track, and then they took the pretest right after Set A. A teacher can assign a retake when a student's score on a 1-minute race drops. For example, the student at the bottom of this list scored 19 after Set I, but scored a 0 after Set R. It's clear the student can do better, so the teacher wisely assigned a retake. If the student does better, the system will replace their low score with the retake score. On the Review Progress page, we will prompt you with this bright red button to assign a retake when a student's fluency drops significantly. This top student went down from 18 correct in a minute to 10. We know they can do better, so you'll see the Assign Retake button. That way they can replace their low score with a more accurate one. Also, Notice the student in the gray middle section received a fluency promotion. More on that later. After scoring 21 correct in a minute after set R. The fluency promotion bumped this student up to set Z. Regardless of their score after set Z, students are done with the learning track. If auto advance is enabled, they will automatically be moved on to the next learning track. On the Review Progress tab, there's a pink button labeled Export Functions. There's a drop-down menu of 4 kinds of data exports you can do. Right now, we're interested in exporting the scheduled race results, the results after sets A, I, R, and Z. Export causes an Excel file to be downloaded to your browser. As we showed you earlier, you can filter your data on the Review Progress page. You can filter the Review Progress data by school, or by teacher, or by section, so that you see only what you want to see. If you filter data, then from the export functions, you can choose to export only the filtered data. All 4 of the export categories can be filtered. Here's an example of the export of one class's scheduled race results, the ones that come after sets A, I, R, and Z. You can see the class averages at the top. In multiplication, the average moves up from 8 per minute after set A to 25 per minute after set Z. Below the averages are the individual student results. When you see a student with a fluency score that is troubling because it decreases, we recommend assigning a retake for them to do on their next login. If possible, watch to make sure they are engaged and giving it their undivided attention. In addition to the races that are scheduled automatically by the system, you can also assign 1-minute races. Assigning fluency testing on a weekly or every other week basis to measure improvement in fluency over time is a good practice. To assign a 1-minute race in bulk to the class, go to tab A, the dashboard. First, select the students you want to assign or select all, then go to the bulk action button and pull down to choose Assigning Fluency Testing, 1-minute races. You can also assign 1-minute races individually on the green Individual Action button at the far right-hand end of each student's row in the dashboard. When you are assigning fluency testing, you can do it on a one-time basis or do it on a recurring basis. If you choose one-time assignment, you can choose to assess their current learning track, meaning that everyone will be assigned whatever learning track they are studying now. You can also choose any other specific learning track. Then you can choose when they are to be tested, the next time they log in or the next time a specific day comes around. You can also assign fluency testing, aka 1-minute races, to be assigned on a recurring basis. You can choose every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, etc. You can also choose the day of the week on which testing is done. You can choose their current learning track or any other specific learning track you want. Using the Export Functions button in the Review Progress tab, you can choose Export Assigned Race Reports to see the results of those 1-minute races you assigned to students. When you select that, you have to choose whether you want a file with all of the learning tracks displayed, or you can choose to have the results from a specific learning track. Say, for example, you choose to assign races every Friday. And then when you export the data after a few weeks, you'll be able to see if there is a trend. What we know for sure is that progress is dependent upon the frequency that students play. By default, we enable fluency promotions for all of your students. When students are already fluent in a learning track, there's really no benefit for them to be working through all the A to Z levels. If a student beats the average level Z score of graduates of the learning track, for example, in addition, it is 18 answers in a minute. For multiplication, it's 21 answers in a minute. they are promoted to the next scheduled fluency test. So from set A, a student would be promoted to the test after set I. From the set I test, be promoted to set R, or from set R to set Z. If they continue to score a better than average graduate level 3 times in a row, they will move to set Z post-test and be on their way to the next learning track. This way your students don't waste time on stuff they already know. Teachers and school managers can enable or disable fluency promotions in bulk for groups of students. 3 steps to bulk actions. 1. Select the students. 2. Open Bulk Actions button. 3. Select the action you want to do. For the fluency promotions to benefit your students, you should also enable auto advance to the next learning track. Remember this from part 1 of the series of videos? You enable it in bulk actions, the same way as fluency promotions. The teacher or school manager can also change the status of an individual student's fluency promotions on the green Individual Action button on the right-hand end of each student's row in the dashboard. If it's disabled, you can choose Enable, and vice versa. The older and more capable the students, the more important it is to enable their fluency promotions, so as not to waste their time with stuff they already know. This has been part 2, Fluency Data from 1-Minute Races, in the series about making the best use of the Rocket Math Online Tutor. The other parts are part 1, First Steps, part 3, Understand the Review Progress tab, part 4, Why is the tutor speed so fast? And part 5, Motivating Students. You really should view all of them. Oh, and if you're interested in research, please stay tuned for some slides on how to use the Rocket Math Online Tutor to set up and run a gold standard comparison study. If you do such a study and publish it, Dr. John will give you or your school a free year of the online tutor. On tab M, we have a comparison study dashboard. This feature will make it possible for you to set up and run a gold standard study. You can do a comparison study of Rocket Math with another facts intervention, and our system will set up a randomized assignment to conditions. You make up a pool of students who will be in the study. Use randomized assignment to conditions, and half will get Rocket Math and the other half won't, but they can still take tests with the Rocket Math 1-Minute Races. Click the blue button labeled Set Up New Comparison Study to get started. After you've clicked on the Setup button, you'll see this screen. First, choose a learning track the students have not yet started studying. Second, specify the number of students in the study, meaning both groups of students, the experimental and control groups. Third, it is to decide when the control students will be assigned fluency tests, aka 1-minute races. If you choose matched, the control group will be assigned 1-minute races starting when half of the Rocket Math group has finished sets A, I, R, and Z. They will be assigned on their next login, so their control teacher will need to tell them to log in and do the race once they are assigned. Alternatively, you could choose to preset the dates of testing the control students. Fourth is to select the students who will be in the pool of participants. You go back to your dashboard to select students to participate in the study. You can select among students already in the system, or you can create some new student logins and set up other students to use them. To select a student login to be in the pool, put a check mark in front of their username. Once you've selected all the students, go to Bulk Actions and choose Assign Students to a Study Pool. Back to tab M, Comparison Study Dashboard. You can set up the teacher managers you want to oversee the Rocket Math and control groups. You see below the student logins in the pool of participants. Your next step is to assign students to the conditions. You can manually assign the students in your list to Rocket Math or control, But it's far better to use the green button to randomly assign students to conditions. When you do that, you have a gold standard study because you know the two groups are matched to begin with. To review these steps, go to tab H, Help/Knowledge Base, and see topic 15F under Fluency Assessment. Set up and run a randomized assignment control trial. Dr. Don would love to help you set up a study, so be sure to contact him if you'd like any help with this.